Hey, what's up everybody? Today I wanted to show you guys how to add in a layer of realistic looking fog to an image. And I've seen a couple tutorials online on YouTube that kind of demonstrate how to do this with the built-in cloud functionality on Photoshop, but I wasn't really digging the way that looked. So the way we're going to do this is you're going to choose a fog image, which these fog images can look a lot more realistic and you have a lot more to choose from, so you can have different style or different pattern of fog that you can choose that might fit your image better. I'm going to include the fog image I used for download in the description below, and I'll also include a link to a website where you can get lots of free fog images where it's just fog on a black background or a transparent background, which is what we're going to use. So this is my fog image right here. It's pretty plain, but it's got more variation and is less of a recurring pattern than the stock cloud in Photoshop. And this is my image, but see, I've already edited it to the way I kind of want it to look, a little bit hazy and a little bit kind of old school. So, but my fog isn't really going to match that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure that you have your fog image and the image you want it to layer the fog into both open in the same catalog in Lightroom. That's the way I would prefer to start. And you're going to get your photo kind of dialed in, color-wise, contrast-wise, all that, and then you're going to match the fog to that image. Now, the image is a little bit cool, so I'm going to cool it down. I think that looks about right. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a tiny bit. I'm going to bring the contrast up a little bit. Highlights up a little bit. I'm going to bring up the shadows, bring up the whites a little bit. I'm going to add a fair amount of texture and clarity, just because it brings out like the fogginess, all the little detail of it. And I'm going to dehaze it just a little bit. See how much different that looks than our starting image? Okay, I like that. All right, go back to library. Now you can see those two images are closer in color than they were before. So now once you got your two images matched in color, you're going to select both of them. You're going to right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Now if you don't want to start with Lightroom, you can open up your image in Photoshop and then bring the fog in if you didn't want to color match them in Lightroom first, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So now we've got both these in Photoshop as layers. It's still loading. Okay, there we go. Now if you didn't have these both open in Photoshop, you just open your image in Photoshop, you go over to File, Place Embedded, and then you choose your fog. And then you'd bring it in, and it would be the same as we had done. And then you can try and color match it in Photoshop too. That's cool. I prefer to do it in Lightroom first. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a duplicate layer from our background image. And we're going to put the fog in between those two. We're going to turn off the first one, okay? And then we're going to kind of change the perspective. So hold Control or Command on Mac, and then grab one of these, and you can kind of change the way it's going to look. So we kind of want it to look like that. All right, now let off the Control and then stretch it. Kind of like that. And just to get this looking a lot better. Okay, then go ahead and turn that first layer back on. Now our fog has disappeared, but that's okay. So the first thing we're going to do now is select this copy layer, and we're going to create a layer mask. And you do that by clicking this little rectangle with a circle in the middle of it. And once you've done that, you'll go over here to the paintbrush and make sure you have black on black. Go over here. I would select about a 1000 for your brush size, and if you start painting and nothing happens, go ahead and you can change the black to white, and for this top color to get the fog to start coming through, because sometimes it's you need it to be white instead of black. But we're having it black on black. We're going to have our brush size 1000, mode normal, opacity. I'm going to bring it down to like 15%, 16%. I have flow 71%, smoothing at 51%. And now we're just going to start gently brushing this fog in. Okay, maybe bring up the opacity just a little bit. And if it's looking a little bit dark, it's probably bringing in a lot of the darkness from the fog. Let's go ahead and turn it off and just bring it down so that the brighter part of the fog is now showing. Something like that. See, now that makes a big difference. Go back to our layer mask and our paintbrush and just keep painting in. And you can see we're starting to get this nice fog to come in over the water here. Okay, let's go ahead and turn that. See, look at the difference there. That might be a little too much for you, and if you feel like you've painted in too much, you can go up here. You can change the opacity again if you want to something stronger or less, or you can go over here to add white, and then once you start painting, it'll start removing the fog. See? But I don't really want to remove any, so I'm not going to. And you can mess with the density. You know, maybe if you don't like how thick it's in, you can adjust the density to just add just a little bit. I like all full density, but I will feather it a little bit. Let's see. There we go. I like that. Okay, so once we have that done, I think I'm ready to call that image good. Let's see. I might add just a little bit more out here. Yeah. Just like that. Okay, I like that. I think that looks nice and foggy and hazy. Because that day when I did take this photo, there was fog rising off the water, but when I got home, you couldn't see it in the picture. And I think that's because the fog was just so thin and wispy. But this kind of makes it look, you know, steamy and warm, like it was, you know, a very cold snow coming in on a very warm lake, which is what was happening. Okay, so I'm ready to call that good. File, export as, and you can export it however you want. I like to do PNG. I will include this same fog overlay in the description for download from my Google Drive, And I will also link to a website that has a repository of different fog images similar to the one I am giving you guys. If you guys like this tutorial, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, please. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing more stuff like this, and I will keep coming back and giving you guys quality tutorials. All right, thanks.